Well, here we've got a lovely setting this wonderful Sunday morning. I've chosen the topic of discussion this morning just purely due to the fact that yesterday I was ambling my way very gently round the cycle path around Lake Varese, which is, yes, a combination of footpath, cycle path, just about every other vehicle path, with the exception of those rather hazardous electric scooters, thank goodness. And funnily enough, I was about halfway round, and I just paused, perhaps for a drink and a bit of a break and a banana and some sustenance. And I saw this guy. He walked up to me, and as if to say, you know, who are you? And I thought, well, who are you? And we immediately ran into a problem, or should I say, we didn't run into a problem as such, because it turns out that he is German, and of course, meeting here in Italy, I thought he could have been Italian, he could have been Dutch, he could have been German, he could have been anything. He was there at the canottaggio, which is the rowing club at the Schiranna in Varese, on Lake Varese. It's now become a hub, I would say a global, certainly an international hub for training, both male and female rowing. They have the Australian Rowing Academy there at Gavirate, just along the lake from where I was at Schiranna, where you start the cycle path in one direction going round clockwise, or the other direction going round anti-clockwise. On this occasion I was doing it anti-clockwise, and as I say, I got to around where the rowing club was, or is, should I say. Met this charming gentleman whose name is Peter. Peter in German, of course. I immediately translated it into English, and he became Peter, and we introduced each other. And I said Hugo, and he said, oh goodness me, what an unusual name. And I said, well, I'm not Italian. I'm from Scotland originally, although I've lived in Italy for many years. And so he showed me around the boathouse and the beautiful collection of sculls, all of which are obviously used by the rowing club. Some may be privately owned, some may be owned by the rowing club itself. And they are either single sculls, they're called, which is just a fiberglass shell for one person, or double sculls, or for 4 people, and last of all, 8s, and therefore 8 people. In the case of an 8, you have 4 oarsmen. Obviously they're all in line, sitting in line, but each one alternately, they have 4 oars on one side and 4 oars on the other, and being so long, it requires what is called a cox, and he was explaining this briefly in using some, I would say, excuse me, not terminology that I'm entirely familiar with, but I do know a little about rowing, as my father rowed when he was at university. So I feel I know the sport. I've never actually done any rowing myself, other than canoeing and kayaking and things like that, which are perhaps rather easier, because of course one has to be quite, well, first of all fit, young, have quite a good sense of balance, because of course they're rather precarious vessels or boats, or whatever you want to call them, and so you have to be quite careful getting in and out. And you're on a sliding, when obviously the motion of rowing is very much, you're using your knees, and you're sitting on a sliding seat, which is either made of wood or, again, fiberglass, or some similar material to keep it very light. They are extremely light, these boats. They do go across the water at some speed, depending, of course, on whether they are single sculls, double, 4 or 8s. Anyway, he went on to tell me that he's living in Bern, which is, as you all know, I'm sure you will know, and if you don't know what Bern is, you can look it up in your atlas, because Bern is the capital, and so you should all know that, so you can have a look in your atlases. And he said he was quite often down here, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, the weekends, just, you know, for enjoyment and passing the time. And he's at the moment doing up his own scull, which is a beautiful, beautiful boat. It's like a peacock blue, metallic peacock blue, and he's obviously quite, it's almost, I would say, and define it as his baby. Anyway, I stayed there, excuse me, I stayed there far too long with him, because I then had a lunch date with my father at around 1 o'clock, and I actually didn't get there till about 1:30. But I did, having said that, meet this charming gentleman, Peter, or for those of you who prefer the German equivalent, Peter, and will now, of course, keep in touch with Peter. And so one can say I made a friend, which is very nice, and he may or may not also pick up on some English coaching, because he feels he's, yes, working in IT. He's rather younger than me. He's about 50, in his early 50s. I think he said 52, 53. But he just feels he'd like to, his English to be a little better. So he said, yep, we'll be in touch. And after the middle of August, which is, of course, when the schools go back in Switzerland, and I said, yep, I should be around by then, so we can pick up and catch up then. And what a wonderful day it is, really, looking all this greenery around and everything. But let's not get distracted by the beautiful greenery, and stick to the point. So I saluted Peter by saying goodbye, hasta luego, and see you soon, or speak soon, or whatever. And I'm sure we will. So that's my story for today, and my meeting with Peter yesterday lunchtime. And that's all for now. Talk soon. Take care. Keep well.